Hi, I'm Mary Amanuel. I'm a data scientist at the NHS, and I'm also the co-founder of the NHS Python Community. So I really wanted to work in data science and AI because I had, like, from a very young age, I had this desire that I really want to help people, and I really want to help people at scale. I want to use technical skills and analytical skills to do that because I was really curious about the world. I'm very analytical. I loved sort of economics, politics, maths. I loved these subjects. So I wanted to use them. And I wanted to be able to like present my ideas and my thoughts, my theories often. So I felt that data science was a very good career that could combine all of these different elements. And I also feel like data science and AI skills are really important for the 21st century and building yourself like a really strong career in the 21st century. And I feel like in my job at the NHS, I'm working on things like building cancer models to predict, if someone's going to have cancer in the next year. I'm building sort of models that help us predict and track like disease prevalence, all these different things, all of these different meaningful things. I'm able to basically have impact at scale. So that's one of the things that attracts me to data science and AI. And I started very much from scratch. I applied for a data analytics apprenticeship with the NHS, with NHSX at the time, which was like the tech wing of the NHS, and with Multiverse, who were basically getting people from underprivileged backgrounds to get careers in tech. And I applied, and when I got in, I was in a sort of data science and analytics and economics team, and almost everyone had a PhD in the team. And I remember being so intimidated, like, oh my God, like, what do I have to offer? I'm so new to this, I'm so junior. But actually, over time, I realized, well, this is actually kind of like my university. This is like my peer group. How lucky am I to have this environment at this age to be able to go and learn in this way? And I really feel like I was challenged and supported in very equal measure there. So that was kind of my journey. And I just learned everything from scratch and became a data scientist through that kind of work. So my proudest moment about being sort of data science / AI practitioner is when I led on the first NHS-wide AI hackathon in 2024. So one thing I realized in the NHS is, especially in the national level, we're building like all these amazing AI tools, data science tools, but we need to have much more connection to the people who are ultimately going to use a lot of these tools, which are clinicians, nurses, and these practitioners on the ground. And I wanted to bridge essentially the front line with the data scientist to help us build sort of data science projects together. So have these kind of grassroots AI projects that we could build together. So I, along with many different partners, essentially orchestrated this hackathon where we got 130 people from across the NHS, across the country, different professions, clinicians, data scientists, product managers, to build like 17 AI products in 48 hours. And the reason why I'm really, really proud about this is not just because some of these are going to get hopefully more support, but also because I feel like a really underrated part of data science is the community aspect of data science. And I feel that we need to bring more professions that don't really talk to each other together to get the most out of what we're doing and make sure what we're doing actually has impact and is used and actually does transform patient lives. So that would be, I would say, my proudest moment would be that hackathon. So my day-to-day does vary across the week, but I would say typically in the morning, I would start with like a stand-up. So this would be a couple of people on my project, a tech stand-up, just to go through what I've been doing the day before, any blockers to like doing anything on this day. And then after that, it would be essentially, I like to have 2 to 3 hours of like very deep work. So just turn on do not disturb on Teams and just work through a problem. So that might be troubleshooting a modeling pipeline, or doing some exploratory analysis, or running a model, getting some results. But I really find in the mornings very good to just get that deep work in. And then after lunch, we have more of the kind of meeting style stuff. So this could be going over some results with my team about things I found over the week. It could be creating presentations to present to stakeholders. It could also be things like we have a lot of show and tells and analytical or data science kind of community of practices showing different techniques, modeling techniques. So it could be going to one of those show and tell sessions. And then at the end of the day, I kind of decompress, maybe catch up with some colleagues. And also at the end of the day, I like to have inbox zero. So try to answer all my meetings, try and answer all my emails by the end of the day. So I think one of the biggest challenges facing practitioners at the moment is we're building really amazing, fantastic, thought through models that have taken sometimes years to build. But I think there is sometimes a challenge of getting these models into production and actually having them used and deployed essentially, and also maintained. So I think data science is really, really good from what I've seen at making sure we have the models, building the models. But I think one of the challenges is how do you deploy that actually to the system, to the NHS, to the world, and make sure that is maintained over time, because that takes money, that takes even more resource. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges, because you're making these tools, but you have to make sure they are implemented and sustainably implemented over time. So I think that's one of the biggest challenge. I think the other challenge is, as a data scientist, the requirements to be a data scientist and the expectation on being a data scientist is evolving so much, month to month. It used to be year after year, but month to month to month. I remember when I first started out, the emphasis was still on, having SQL skills and Excel skills and maybe Python skills and Tableau skills. But now it's really, really evolved, and you're expected to be quite proficient at a lot of things: cloud, data engineering, excellent communicator, fantastic at tech skills, fantastic at maths. And I think that the requirements of a data scientist are rapidly evolving and are ever expanding. So I think defining actually what is a data scientist is actually challenging sometimes, because you often having to wear many hats along the whole data lifecycle. So the honest answer to this question is I don't know. But I think what we might see is essentially much more domain-specific AI and large language models. So currently we have things like ChatGPT, Anthropic, which are really good at reasoning and general tasks. But I think we're going to see much more large language models and AI focused on specific domains. So you would have large language model use for the NHS or for health or for finance. So I think these are how kind of AI and large language models will be differentiated a lot more. I also think we're going to have much more demand, even more so for data engineers, because the quality of machine learning or data science or AI you can do is dictated a lot by the quality of data that you're getting in and how you organize your pipeline and bring in that data. So I think we're going to look back along the data lifecycle and think about how is data actually engineered and how we can make sure we are getting the best quality data through our pipelines, because without that quality, we can't do quality data science or AI. And I also think a big challenge that I've been sort of reckoning myself with is I found that data science does not really answer all your questions effectively. So one of the biggest challenges I have working at a data scientist in the NHS is we're building these models, and these models are going to be used across the country, but we're lacking a lot of good data, particularly for ethnic minorities and certain underserved communities. And no amount of data science, no amount of XGBoost will fix the frankly, like unrepresentative nature of a lot of our data sets, particularly in health. And so I think there is this kind of qualitative dimension to data science that will hopefully expand, where we're looking at social researchers, behavioral scientists, to go back and actually ask people, ask patients, you know, how can we get you into our data sets more? How can we encourage people to be part of our data set? And so I think that dimension of making sure we don't have holes in our data sets and our data sets are represented, I think we need a qualitative dimension to complement our data science. So I don't think data science answers all our questions, but it helps us get some part of the way there. I would say if you are starting out in your career in data science and AI, obviously you need to maintain a very technical, like a very strong technical core skill set. So these are things like SQL. SQL was important when I started data science years ago, and it's really still important now. So SQL skills, Python skills, and I would say stat skills. So having understanding of linear regression, logistic regression, and hypothesis testing. So these fundamentals, I don't think will change very much. I might be wrong, but I think these fundamental skills will stay important over the long term. And also, I think communication skills are really, really important. So I think try and get as many opportunities to speak as much as you can, even though if it's uncomfortable or if it's very intimidating. I would just encourage you to speak, present at things, talk to people. I think communication is really important, and even to your own team when you're presenting your own analysis to them, kind of pretend like this is the first time they're seeing your work, because often in the NHS particular there's so many strands to things, so you constantly be reminding people of the value of your work. What question are you answering? How what you're doing is feeding into that question so you can have impact. So I think those are the two things that I would really, really focus on if you're starting your data science career. So I think that there are actually two skill sets that are undervalued. So I think the first one is networking skills. So I think data scientists, we love our tools, we love data, we love talking about our data. But I think to have like a long-term career in data science, you do have to put yourself out there, you do have to network, and it might be uncomfortable, but I think it's a fantastic way to actually contribute to the wider data science community and not just your own career. And this doesn't have to be going to networking drinks or whatever. It could be, for example, contributing to like an open source sort of library, or kind of going for coffee with someone from a different company or another person in the team in law and telling them about data science and what you're doing. But I really think networking is really, really kind of underrated, because I've had so many, I've been fortunate enough to have opportunities where, because I've networked and I've met people, the kind of work that I've been doing has had bigger impact because other people know about it, and this kind of ideas are being socialized and your projects are being socialized. So I think it's really important to network. I also think generosity is very underrated in data science. I think this sort of career and profession requires a lot of generosity from the data science community to help people who are just starting out and want to come into data science. I think generosity is really important. And I was really lucky. I managed to get mentored by a lot of amazing people who took the time to sit with me, to help me, and for me to ask all my simple questions to them. But I think that generosity of spirit is really important, and making sure you have patience and time for people who either want to be in your profession or kind of want to get to where you want to be, but also as practitioners to be generous to the future generation of data scientists or whoever wants to be in our profession as well. So I would say the open source community in general inspires me. So, as co-founder of the NHS Python community, I've, along with many others, tried to promote open source coding, data science, all of this stuff. And I know a lot of people who put hours and hours of time and effort in building these open source tools and code that we all take for granted. Like Python is open source, R is open source, like RStudio, like all of these things that we need day to day in our jobs that people work on tirelessly and often are not paid and is voluntary. I want to give a massive shout out to them because they are the unsung heroes of data science and AI. And I think this demand for more open source stuff in AI and data science will I think it needs to be more appreciated, but also I think open source will be even more in demand over the next few years. So this is an oldie, but a goodie. So the book is called Anti-Fragile by Nassim Taleb. And this is a book, it's not about data science, but there is stuff about financial markets and all of that. But the reason why I recommend it is not because of that, but it's because about the principles of the book. And this book, Anti-Fragile, it tells you all about how when there is chaos and disorder, how you don't just overcome that disorder and chaos, you actually become a stronger, more powerful, more alive version of yourself, a more not just robust, resilient, but a much even stronger and better person as a result of chaos. I think with all the things happening in the world, I think the data science profession rapidly evolving and always feeling like you're a bit behind on things, I think to cultivate your muscle being anti-fragile and being someone who can thrive from chaos. I think these are really good lessons that will be helpful for anyone in this kind of current climate.